Jimmy can also give you offensive power, a person that can get double teams and also pass out of those.
So we'll see what the Warriors are capable of doing. Now, I want to go back to something else. We showed you earlier LeBron James had a very big night last night, and the Lakers got a win. But as is so often the case in the NBA, the conversation is about the conversation. After the win last night, LeBron was asked about Anthony Edwards, who was thrown out, and Edwards' statement at the All-Star game that he isn't striving to become the face of the league. This was LeBron's fascinating response.
And already said he don't want it.
I know.
Yeah, and say he ain't trying to deal with that. And I mean, Channing Frye said it the other day too. Like, I mean, it's unfortunate, but like, I don't know. Why do you want to be the face of a league when all the people that that cover our game and talk about our game on a day-to-day basis on everybody? I mean, that responsibility. It's just weird. It's weird energy.
Fascinating. So put your feet up, because obviously there's a lot to respond to here. And look, that's not the first time we've heard that from LeBron. It's not the first time we've heard it from a big-name NBA personality this year or in recent years. I have a variety of thoughts myself, but I'll start by getting everyone else in here. Wendy, you're there. You're more than almost anyone I know. You're at games pretty much every single night. You're interacting with players. You're hearing and are in the middle of so much of the conversation. Is LeBron right?
Well, first off, Anthony Edwards does want to be the face of the league. That's why he's got Sprite and Adidas commercials. The reason he said that at the All-Star game is he's frustrated by the way he gets called for technicals and gets fined. I just wanted to point that out. I do think LeBron, on the basis level, is correct. I do think that we are out of balance in the way we look at the NBA, where we don't celebrate the greatness as much as we should, that there's more focused on negativity. Now, when I go across the world, Greeny, and I'm in Abu Dhabi or I'm in Manila or I am in Shanghai, when people come up to me, they want to talk about who's better, LeBron or Jordan. Like, that is something that engages fans. There is a reason why everybody leans into that. But I also think that, and I mean, when I say we, I'm not just talking about the media. I think the league itself celebrate how great the league is every single night. Just this week, Monday, Zach LaVine had a 42-point game. Tuesday, we saw a 151-148 game. Wednesday, Tyrese Halliburton was awesome. He's having one of the best stretches in the NBA. Last night, we have Steph and LeBron. We haven't even gotten to the other games. Zion had his first ever triple-double. You haven't even heard it yet. Every single night in the NBA, the league is absolutely awesome. And yet, there is actually a prevailing belief that the league is in a bad place. This is absolutely preposterous. As somebody who's done this every single day for 22 years, the league has never been better. It's not even in question, but we don't celebrate it enough. I'm not saying you get rid of the stuff about negativity and the arguments, but I do think it is out of balance. I wouldn't agree with everything LeBron said, but on his baseline level, he does have a point.
See, I've said many times, and Hembo and I had it in our book, LeBron is the first immortal of the social media era. And so he's living in a world that none of the others lived in. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, all the others, even Kobe Bryant, for the most part in his career, didn't live in the world that we live in today, where conversation is so much more pervasive, and it is impossible to ignore whether you want to or not. Rudy, you were there. I mean, you were in the league up until last year, so you were as close to this as you can be, and you've been there. You played a long time, so you've seen the evolution of it. When you hear LeBron say things like, and I'll clean up his language for him a little bit here for the purposes of the show, like, everyone just dumps on us. Everyone is just negative all the time. Do you believe that is what NBA players think?
I do. I think for the most part, NBA players are used to having to prove themselves and continue to have to prove themselves, not only to their teammates, to their coaches, but also to the public. You know, we've been, public figures for so long, especially LeBron, for him to be able to do this and keep up the level he does for so long, like you said, social media, fans, everything. He just continues to rise his level. And I mean, it just seems like he's just tired of it. I mean, it was in the context of Anthony Edwards,
right.
but this is a competitive league. Everybody wants to see how you respond to certain things, and whether that's media or whatever. Like, if there's something that we bring up, we want to see what you're going to do the next night.
Let me ask the question more directly to you. Do you believe the coverage of the NBA, however you want to define that, is too negative, is unfairly negative, and the players are portrayed unfairly?
At times, yes. Yes. I mean, as great as LeBron is, we're still comparing him to other people. You know, why not just celebrate him? You know, LeBron James is a great player. Michael Jordan was a great player, two different eras. They never played against each other, but yet we're comparing them to each other. Let's just have two great players.
To some degree, though, that is sort of the nature of sports, right? It is competition. We compete, you know, who wins, who's better, who's that. And I don't think that's particularly harmful. If I had to guess, and I'm trying to put myself in LeBron James' head, I don't think that what upsets him is when people compare him to Michael Jordan. No. I think what he is upset by and others are upset by is the complaining on the part of a lot of fans and a lot of media about load management, about the style of play today, about all the threes. We talked about it this morning that are shot in the NBA, what the game looks like on a day-in, day-out basis. I think there is a lot of negativity that they hear relative to those things. I believe, and again, I'm not going to try and speak for LeBron James, I think that's what he's referring to. Joe, what do you think?
I think it's more than fair for the players to be fed up with this because there's a lot of heat, right? But think about what's going on. We complain about load management. We call out the players and not playing hard enough. Fair. Kevin Durant comes out and says there's too much negativity. LeBron says there's too much negativity. Fair. But then let's flip it around. Hey, Anthony Edwards, you're the face of the NBA. Positivity. I don't want that. Hey, LeBron, what about Anthony Edwards as face of the NBA? I can see why he doesn't want that. Everything's negative. So when even people try to be positive and put something nice on it, there's a problem. A lot of this, and this is going to be a unique comparison, but a lot of this sport is like WWE in that there's two components. There's the in-ring match, and then there's the microphone work. All right? The NBA can draw a lot of attention, not just for what it does on the court, but for what happens off the court. And they've had a couple issues with how they've branded some things, load management in particular, which has led the fans to get upset. Because in this country, more than anything else, we love football. So we compare everything to football. And when we see those guys bleeding on the field, and then we immediately come off the Super Bowl and watch the NBA, and we get a big night, but two stars are taking the night off, that gets people angry. It's fair that the guys need a night off. It absolutely is. But it's also fair for the fans to get upset about all of this because they're put in a situation where they're coming off their favorite sport of all time, and the two just don't line up.
Woodman, here's the way I view this, because you and I have both been around this a really long time. These things tend to go in ebbs and flows. It wasn't that long ago that it was very fashionable to dump on the National Football League. Now the NFL is riding as high as anything has ever ridden. I remember maybe 10 years ago, it was very fashionable to criticize them. There was everything in the world that they did. Every move they made, it felt like was criticized. Baseball has been through some of that. I believe that this is sort of a cyclical thing. Right now, it is very fashionable to dump on the NBA. I don't know that that means that 5 years from now, the pendulum will not swing completely in the opposite direction. I suppose we'll have to wait and see. Wendy, I'll give you the final word.
Absolutely, I agree with that. But I also do think LeBron is angry about, or upset about the Jordan comparisons. I do think he's tired of exactly that.
Okay, but then I would push back like crazy on that. That is the nature of sports conversation, right? That's what we talk about. Who is better? Right. What's the greatest championship team? All the rest of that. It's a legitimate, fun, and at the end of the day, not particularly meaningful conversation. Go ahead, Wendy. Sorry.
I agree, and that's why I am very careful when I say it exactly this way. Out of balance is what the issue is, out of balance. And that is why I also will point out LeBron James is a billionaire. So don't go to bed tonight with him in your prayers that he's not being taken care of. He's a billionaire because of this. So I mean, it's just, but I do think all of us could balance it better.
Yeah. Fair enough. That's well said. We'll leave it there. Obviously, it's a conversation that will continue. And we've got a really good NBA. Steph Curry went off. LeBron James had a big night as well. And the Lakers beat the Timberwolves. But it was after the game where LeBron had really interesting things to say. He was asked about the statement that Anthony Edwards made at the All-Star game that he, Ant, is not striving to become the face of the NBA. And this is what LeBron said.
Ant already said he don't want it.
I know.
Yeah, Ant said he ain't trying to deal with that. And, I mean, Channing Frye said it the other day, too. Like, I mean, it's unfortunate, but, like, I don't know. Why do you want to be the face of a league when all the people that, you know, that cover our game and talk about our game on a day-to-day basis on everybody? I mean, that responsibility, it's just weird. It's weird energy.
This does feel like it's something we're hearing a lot more from inside the NBA, that there are players, coaches, and others who feel as though the conversation surrounding the sport has become very negative. Rudy Gay, you were in the league up until last year. Joe's got thoughts. But, Wendy, I'll start with you. You've been covering the league a very long time. When you hear LeBron say that, what is your reaction?
I just have to apply some context here because that's my role in this industry. What Ant was talking about was his frustration. He was asked about being face of the league, and he said, no, they got Victor for that. Ant is absolutely a face of the league. He didn't say he didn't want it, but I think Ant was frustrated that he's been fined repeatedly and gotten technicals repeatedly, and he doesn't think he's being treated like the face of the league. And by the way, he's going to be suspended today because of technical fouls, and he's going to get fined for throwing the ball into the stands last night, which is a different topic. What LeBron is reacting to, and we didn't have it specifically in there, but he said it. He was talking about Channing Frye, who on a podcast last week said that the current NBA players have to fight against nostalgia. So what LeBron was referring to and what Ant was referring to are two separate things. And I know that it doesn't fit perfectly into what conversation or perfectly into a clip. But what LeBron is talking about is being compared to Jordan, being compared to Kobe. What Ant was talking about was something totally different. There's even a third topic, which is people complaining about the way the game is played today, which is not what LeBron or Ant were talking about. But whatever, all across media today, when people react to this, they're going to jam it all together. It's separate topics, but I know that doesn't fit. So specifically what LeBron said, yes, I personally believe that as those who follow the league, we have lost balance when it comes to celebrating the players today versus comparing them to previous eras. That doesn't mean we don't compare it to previous eras. I do think there's an incredible value in enjoying conversation about the league, but I think there is too much of it relative to celebrating the nightly greatness that is in the NBA.
Rudy, you played up until last year, and you played a long time. So you played in the era, maybe not Jordan, but you played certainly in the Kobe Bryant era and on through this, the proliferation of social media, podcasts, so much more coverage of the NBA and all sports than there was even when you started. So when you hear LeBron James say, for whatever his thinking is, and I think it's wonderful and important that Wendy provided that context, but as a general rule, I have heard a lot of people inside the NBA suggesting they think the conversation around the league is too negative for any and all of those reasons. Do you think that is the way players feel, and do you think they're right?
Yes, I do think they're right. I mean, we're in the era of opinions. Everyone has an opinion. Everybody can go to their phone. They can go to whatever, have their podcast, have their opinion on you. And rightfully so. This is a competitive sport. This is a competitive game. Like, you know, what's the problem with someone saying my guy is better than your guy? But at the end of the day, I do think that we should just appreciate what this guy is doing. And people like him are doing, you know, the Kevin Durant's, the LeBron Jameses, the Chris Pauls, and to be able to do it at this long of a time, this long time period. I think we need to do more appreciating what they have done for this game, because we're at an all-time level about, you know, the kind of deals that they're signing is insane, you know, and I think a lot of that.
The money, as you're saying, has a lot to do with it.
It has a lot to do with it also. But, you know, I think it's time to just appreciate what these guys have done and continue to push this league forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are both of those, but both of those can happen at the same time. People can have honest opinions. Wendy, when we talk about comparing the league to what it was in a previous time, and you and I both covered that league. I was there in the 90s on a day-in, day-out basis. It's just it's like comparing chocolate and vanilla ice cream. They couldn't be two more different things. And so it is complicated to make that comparison. And I think there's a lot of nostalgia that does play into that part of this conversation.
Yes. And look, I've covered the league every day for 22 years. The league has never, from a performance standpoint, been better. I know people just don't believe that. And I know there's maybe a preference about style of play. But in terms of night in and night out, it's just not an argument. It's just not an argument. And the league itself, not just the media, not just us, the league itself doesn't do a good enough job highlighting that. That doesn't mean I don't think that there are certain things that should be criticized. Again, I will use specific word here. Balance.
Yeah.
The league is out of balance. There's too many threes sometimes. Don't ban the three. But sometimes there's too many, okay? There needs to be a better balance. When you talk about the league, let's just celebrate the nightly success, which is always ignored. Let's have a conversation about LeBron versus Jordan. People love that conversation. People come up to me in airports. People come up to Uber drivers. They want to have it every day. Let's have it. But let's also celebrate that LeBron last night, 2 months after turning 40, had 33, 17, and 6. Let's do both. I think the balance is what we're striving for, and that's what LeBron would probably prefer to be all praise, but the balance is what he's also referring to, even if he doesn't articulate it that way.
Keep one thing in mind as well. During the playoffs, we gush over these guys. Last year, the conversation every day, is Ant the new face of the NBA? Is Luka ready to take the next step? Jason Tatum and the Celtics, we spent 2 months gushing over them. It's this time of year that we criticize because we're all hopped up on the NFL, and the second we come off the Super Bowl, we turn our attention to the NBA, and the first thing we get is, well, it looks like the Suns are upset with each other. They're not playing defense anymore. Well, Wemby's being shut down. Well, the tankathon for Cooper Flag is about to start, and Wendy's right. Wendy's right. There's so many good moments that we could focus on as well, and we do that in the playoffs. But this time of year, we tend to over-exaggerate the negative because we're coming off the Super Bowl and there is a lot of negative to discuss.
It's worth pointing out, and it's easy for me to say because I'm not in the cauldron that that people like LeBron James and others are in. We also just live in a time where our culture has shifted to a very negative place, and pretty much every conversation or many conversations take a much more negative tone than they did previously in my lifetime, and I would love to see that pendulum shift back to a different place as well. We'll see. We'll leave the conversation there for the moment, but obviously it's not one that is going away. In the meantime,
How's it going, everybody? Villa Sports Network here. Just want to thank you guys for your support on the channel. Thank you guys for watching the video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Also want to kind of remind you to don't forget to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment on the video if you like as well. But regardless of the fact, thank you again for your support, and hope to see you on the next video.